Much for joining us this morning, or sorry, this afternoon. I am so excited today to introduce Sarah Williamson, our design director. She's going to go through all of the new introductions to our Hearst Castle collection. My name is Kelly Mastro. I'm the marketing manager. So we're going to have Sarah present all of the new Hearst Castle. And then at the end, we will have a Q&A. So please submit your questions and we'll be sure to answer all of the questions that you have. I know our design team really put a lot of time into this collection. So I am so excited for everybody to be able to see it and for Sarah to be able to talk through all of the patterns and the inspiration. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to you, Sarah.
Great. Thanks, Kelly. Thank you all for joining us today. I'm so excited to present this latest collection for Hearst Castle. Pindler has been so fortunate over the last 20, 30 years that we've been doing this collection to not only be given access to all the different vast and diverse collections that William Randolph Hearst had, but really collaborate with the Hearst Castle staff and everyone there themselves. The Hearst Castle collection is really inspired by the art, antiques, and the beauty of the castle. This exquisite collection is truly reflective of the luxury and the wonder of this famous castle that's nestled on the hills in the California coast. And we feel so proud to continue to tell the story 23 years later. As with all of our Hearst Castle collections, a portion of the proceeds from this collection goes directly to the preservation of the property, which is dedicated to preserving the areas of not only historic architecture, landscape, and the decorative arts. With this new collection, I'm just really excited to present it. This was inspired by a recent trip that our design team took to the castle in 2019, where we were able to gather so much fresh imagery, ideas, and translate them into the beautiful fabrics that you're about to see in front of me, but also behind me in this beautiful color scheme. So very excited to present it to you today. This exclusive collection includes beautiful wool and linen embroideries, super plush velvets, printed linen patterns constructed of the finest fibers and woven all over the world. This collection is also a beautiful assortment of designs that have timeless elegance and lavishness that are very much of the Hearst Castle itself, that are showcased in a beautiful, sophisticated color palette, as you can see behind me. But let's take a closer look at each of these fabrics. The first fabric I have here to present is Renacimiento, which was inspired by an ornate wood carving found on the lower south duplex suite. The duplex suites were designed by Julia Morgan, the architect behind the castle, to accommodate more of Hearst's guests in the Casa Grande, which is the main house on the property. And when you think of the Hearst Castle, this iconic piece of architecture is pretty much what you're thinking. Our interpretation of this was a wood carving that was beautifully translated into this large scale floral design that's embroidered on a beautiful wool ground. So you're really able to get that detailing of the wood carving through all of the different techniques of this embroidery, as well as the kind of cording that goes around it. You're able to see this great frame design. So this is embroidered on a wool blend cloth. So Renacimiento is offered in 5 beautiful colorways. First, we have gray stone. Second, peridot, again, a lovely cream ground with peridot green embroidery on top. Sapphire, a deep sapphire blue with a sky blue embroidered on top. Lilac, again, that beautiful cream ground, lilac embroidery. And lacquer, a very dramatic lacquer red with a slight kind of ruby ground and lacquer red on top that really give all that great detail throughout the entire pattern. Next is Provincia. So this is a beautiful embroidered and corded damask design on a linen blended ground cloth. The motif that you see here was our interpretation of a bedspread that was found in the Casa del Mar, which is one of the 3 cottages that are found on the property and was at one time the Hearst family's main residence while the Casa Grande, the main house, was being built. The embroidery technique on here and the colorations were inspired by a bunch of the beautiful grounds that were around the castle in the gardens. You're able to see this great kind of almost watercolor technique where all of the different embroidery yarns blend together, again, outlined by this beautiful corded yarn that has a little bit of sheen, which has that great juxtaposition against the linen ground cloth here. As I said before, this is Provencia. Provencia is offered in 5 beautiful colorways, starting here with coral, a deep emerald colorway, again, highlights of those kind of citron greens, acidic greens, all the way to the deep emerald with that beautiful linen blended ground. Champagne, lovely light colored linen on a white ground. Sapphire, your classic blues, all kinds of different tones of blue, again, against that white ground. And ending on wisteria, all of these different kind of lilacs, violets, your different purple tonal kind of color scheme on a linen blended ground with, again, that white, beautiful corded yarn, just to give a little bit of that raised effect and really to show off that beautiful embroidery technique. A great kind of go with Provencia is our next pattern. This is Hojas, which was inspired by a bounty of fuchsia that was planted along the esplanade that encircles the Casa Grande. The grounds of the castle and really the surrounding landscape around it are just as breathtakingly beautiful as the architecture itself. If you've been to the castle, you know this is true. You see all of the hills around it, the California coast off in the distance, and all of the plant life surrounding the architecture is just stunning. This interpretation was translated into a full coverage foliage design that is embroidered again on that beautiful linen blend ground cloth and features an ombre of color across. So you're able to get different bands across. It's a 54-inch width. So you'll have 3 different bands of that beautiful embroidery to get that really great ombre effect. Hojas is offered in 5 colorways, starting here with Perdot. So you're getting those fresh greens into golds and a little bit of champagne highlight. Sapphire, the different blue tones going all the way from indigo into a lovely soft sky on a white ground. Wisteria, kind of the different violets, lilacs, all the way into kind of just this light, soft purple, again on a nice blend linen ground. Coral, all the way from your super intense corals to your soft petal pink. And ending again on champagne, just a great kind of soft neutral colorway. The next pattern we have here is Fiorito. And Fiorito was inspired by a floral shade on top of this beautiful gilded lamp that we found in a sitting room in one of the cottages called the Casa del Sol, also Spanish for House of the Sun. Fiorito is a classically elegant floral frame design embroidered on a natural ground cloth. The detailed embroidery really showcases all of the striking kind of multicolored colorways here, and you're getting great detail, not only in each of the flower designs themselves, but also in the vine that's creating this large OG shape amongst all of the other kind of floral and leaf vines that are happening in the background. Fiorito is offered in 3 different colorways, starting here with Botanica, our pinks, purples, and again, beautiful kind of botanical greens. This is colorway Blossom, a lot softer than some of the other colorways that we have within the collection. This is more true kind of coloring to a lot of the archival objects that we were able to look at within the castle. We, of course, love color, love the punch of color, but these softer kind of more refined and classic colorways are also featured in the castle, in the collection. So again, this is Blossom. And ending on colorway Capri. So beautiful indigo, sky blues, mixing with those great kind of burnt oranges and a little bit more of an acidic green that you're finding in all the different foliage amongst this pattern. Again, it's pattern Fiorito. Next is pattern Alameda, which was inspired by an armchair found in one of the bedrooms of the Doge's suite, which is an area of the castle that was inspired by the ornate chambers of Venice's famed Doge's Palace, if you're familiar with that. The framed floral design that's in front of me was translated into this beautiful embroidery design, which features various techniques on a sateen ground cloth. So it really has kind of both those fresh and traditional multicolored colorways, just like Fiorito had here. So Alameda is offered in 4 different colorways, starting again with Capri. So you're having those indigo, sky blues, great burnt oranges, again on this really great crisp cotton sateen ground cloth, which gives more of a traditional feel, but also with having these large scale frames gives its own unique voice versus the last pattern that we saw. Alameda really stands on its own. And if you saw the coverage and also the weight of this ground cloth, you might think that this is an applique, but it's all machine embroidery. It just is so thick, so rich, and really just kind of over the top. One could say just like the castle. So again, this is Alameda, color Capri, colorway Cello. So beautiful blues, kind of marigold yellows. Again, the beautiful crisp white ground cloth and more of these kind of citrine greens. Colorway Botanica. So the ruby reds, golds, those pinks, violets that you've seen within the collection really come together on this pattern and this colorway. And then ending again on Alameda Classico. So as I was talking about Fiorito, we had the Blossom colorway, which was colored to kind of pay homage to the actual archives and kind of the older colors that we were seeing, but to make them fresh and to bring new life into them. We have a couple of different colorways that really feel just like you found the archival object. And this is definitely one like that. You have the soft blues, the soft reds. It's all a little bit more toned down, even if you're looking at the kind of green leaves in the design. Everything's very elegant, very subdued, but this is such a regal and nice colorway that could go into really any roomscape. So again, that's pattern Alameda. Next, we have Terrazza. So Terrazza was inspired by a geometric wood carving on the front of a desk that we found in a bedroom of the north wing in the Casa Grande, and that's the main house. The carving was then translated into this mid-scale design, which is embroidered on a faux silk kind of ground. And it really harmonizes back to a lot of the large scale embroideries that we've done. But again, with a lot of the items in this collection, we have these kind of traditional motifs, traditional kind of, items that we were able to find that are very old and trying to give them new life. And I think this is a great representation of kind of old becoming new. This could go into any different room scheme. It's very modern, yet very classic. And again, this mid-scale design is just so usable. Terrazza is offered in 5 colorways, starting here with this beautiful cello. So this is blue with a nice kind of outline, just a little bit of this indigo blue, sky blue in the middle, which really translate when you see it on a larger piece is just so stunning. The next colorway we have here is Persimmon. Again, a kind of fresh orange with a little bit of this outline, has a slightly darker tone. It's not quite a burnt orange, but really is just able to give a highlight to this design. Leaf, again, a kind of darker leaf green with this bright celadon green in the middle. Lacquer, again, a lovely ruby red with a lacquer red center. And Blossom. So this is kind of that petal pink, the softer pink highlight. And again, if you're able to see that ground, it has a real faux silk look to it, which is so beautiful and can tie back to any silk solid. Our next pattern is one of my personal favorites from the collection. This is Fionerie, which is a beautiful velvet. This was inspired by magnificent ironwork featured on the front entrance of a cottage called Casa del Mar, which is Spanish for House of the Sea. This grand design translates seamlessly into this viscose jacquard velvet quality, which is so dramatic in all of the different rich colorways that it's shown in. It is dyed in a way that the viscose really picks up the dye stuffs a little bit differently than the rest of the ground because of the blend that it is. It's viscose rayon and also cotton. So that highlight, which you're seeing the artwork in, is that viscose pile, which is so soft and yet has that luminescent quality, which is beautiful and just the perfect way to translate this design. This design is also offered in 4 colors, the ruby that you're seeing here, Marmoletta, which is this kind of softer pink orange, really depends on the way the light captures on it. It can change. Sapphire, again, that deep sapphire blue, so rich. And ending on Verde, which is this kind of fresh green, has hints of the celadon, and again, that kind of leaf green in the ground, but you're able to really see that luminescent quality of that viscose pile. And ending on Esplanade, which was inspired by carefully laid tile flooring found in the morning room of the Casa Grande, which is a really large space that has tapestries on the walls, textured stone all around the ground, and is just very striking. This mosaic stonework has been translated into a printed design on a textural and also rustic linen blended ground cloth, which truly gives a woven appearance. We're very excited about this as well, as this is one of the first times that we've introduced a print into the Hearst Castle collection. But we feel that this is the perfect way to translate this design. It really does justice to just how beautiful it is. It is definitely a direct representation of the ground itself. Esplanade is offered in 3 colorways. This first being our Matone, which is kind of a dark maroon, little highlights of the gold, which is how the flooring actually is. This is pretty much a direct, if we had a photograph to show you what it was, this is exactly it. Sapphire, again, those different tones that you were able to see against all of the other embroideries and the velvet are really found here. You have your deep indigos, almost kind of teal blues. So this could go with any of the blues within the color, the groups that you've seen before, as well as the greens. And then ending on gray stone. So again, this is those really beautiful kind of softer golds that you saw within the greens, as well as the neutrals. Could go with any of the champagne objects that or fabrics that you saw behind me. But really, this is such a great pattern to end on and then be able to kind of tie back to all the rest. So that is the collection. I'm so happy that you were able to look through it with me. I'm going to send it back to Kelly, as I know we have some questions to answer.
Awesome. Oh my goodness. The castle is very magical, and you definitely transported me there. So thank you for like the really incredible presentation. And it was so great to see all of the patterns up close and all of the inspiration behind them. So we do have some questions. So the first question we have is, what was your creative process for developing the new Hearst Castle patterns? And I know we always get this question, so I think it'll be great for you to answer this.
Yeah. So again, this was such a great trip and such a great time for our design team. We really had been a new design team at that point, and we wanted to go see the castle with fresh eyes and gather, really exciting new inspiration. So in going there, we were able to collect so much to then reference. And really, when it came time to, picking what artwork went with each of these designs, that process took quite a while. We all know everything with lead times gets a little stretched out when we start to go into that COVID timeframe, but everything that we were looking at really started to marry back to different designs. So I think this would be a perfect example, as we said before, our pattern terrazza. So in looking at this and seeing it as a wood carving on a desk and then being able to imagine it, I think that's part of the beauty of our design team, that we were able to think, okay, that directly reminds me of this. So when trying to develop, the perfect fabric and the perfect interpretation of it, it just kind of clicked. I think with this, especially since we're working with archives and objects that we have to then kind of update, sometimes it's a direct representation, like we were saying with Esplanade, where, it really just, it clicks. We want to have it be a digital print. It's so beautiful on its own, or we're able to interpret it into something that's a little bit more, time intensive. But again, it's something where we took our time with it. We had the great imagery. We partnered with amazing vendors and different mills all around the world and took our time with it to then be able to introduce this beautiful collection.
Well, and so we have a wonderful booklet on our website, and it goes through all of the inspiration for each pattern. And really, I mean, it's really incredible how well you hit it with so many of these patterns. So it's really so fun to see that translation come to life. So good job on that. So what was the most exciting part of creating these new designs?
Oh my gosh. I mean, just being able to go through the castle, as I said, was on its own just amazing. I know I think somewhere on our website, it might be in the beautiful booklet that Kelly made, but there's actual images of myself and another woman on the design team, Nicole, where we're literally on top of the castle. We went through every vantage point you literally could be in, all the way from down in the archives to on top to get a beautiful view of the landscape. So being able to then directly translate all of these things into fabric, just again, it clicked. It was so much fun. And I think each one of these designs, we have our personal favorites, but they all just kind of came about so naturally. And it really is, you're able to see it in the way that it flows, even by color, which sometimes with these larger groups, you hope everything marries back very well. And when you have velvets, digital prints, and embroidery, sometimes it's a little piecey, but I feel like this just all came together so beautifully. It has a great flow.
Yeah, it really, really did. So speaking of favorites, if you had to choose a favorite, what would your favorite pattern be?
Again, that's so difficult because they're so beautiful. I know Renacimiento, especially in the greens, I always kind of gravitate towards green. That's just my own thing. But I think our pear dough colorway, excuse me, turned out so beautiful. I really love the kind of clean ivory creamy ground that you have, and then you have that fresh pear dough color. This looks like it could be on any old armback chair. It could be in something that's a little bit more of a contemporary space as well. I think it's not only the artwork, but also the content and what this actually is made of, that just, it can go anywhere. So I really love that. I think another one again would be Terraza, where this could go modern, it could go contemporary, it could go very traditional. And I think all of the different colors that we have it into, you're really able to have a lot of look with these fabrics. They don't just kind of pigeonhole into one style.
Well, and you really, really have to see these patterns in person, and touch and feel, because there's so many dimensions to them.
Definitely.
Is there anything else that designers should know about this collection, about the process? Anything else you want to share?
Really, I mean, this collection, like I said before, has been going for 23 plus years at this point, and it's been a labor of love. We're so happy that Pindler had this, kind of set up for us to be able to go with when we all kind of came together as this new design team. But so thankful to have this partnership and to continue working with Hearst Castle has just been fantastic. I think, as you just said, you really need to feel all of these fabrics. I think, the pieces I was able to show in detail closer up really, can do justice. But when you see these fabrics in a large piece, or even if you're able to have one of our sales reps visit you or go to a showroom to see it in person, they're so striking and so beautiful. So I would definitely recommend everyone taking a look at all these fabrics in a little more detail.
Absolutely. And you mentioned a faux silk ground in one or two of these patterns, but we also did launch a new silk. Do you want to talk about our new silk that I think plays very nicely with this collection?
We do. We have a new silk that we just launched, which is our Dupioni silk. This is something that's been in the line for Pindler for quite a while, but we recolored it beautifully to go with each one of these kind of color groups. So if you're working on anything and you want to incorporate a Hearst Castle fabric, Dupioni is definitely a go-to. It's 100% Dupioni silk. I believe we have it in about 32 to 36 colors, because not everything is necessarily in that book. So again, if you want to visit our website, or if you're in one of our showrooms, they can help point you in the right direction of that. Or if you have one of our sales reps visit you with a new book, Dupioni should be in their bag soon. It's not already.
Yeah, absolutely. So we got another question about price range, and can you kind of talk to the price range of these patterns?
So Hearst Castle being an exclusive collection and also being something that, is so detailed, these are a little bit higher up there, considering what they are, the quality that they are. Right in front of me, I do not have the price range. That might be something that if you're able to reference on our website, or contacting any of your sales reps, showrooms, they're able to help you with that a little bit more. I don't have the price sheet to reference right in front of me, but they are kind of keeping in line with other Hearst Castle items that we've offered in the past.
Awesome. And you mentioned the showroom and our sales rep. We have an incredible, incredible team in Atlanta. And so definitely, if you're new with Pindler, reach out to the showroom. You can go onto our website and we can send you all of the information. And this is just a super, super exciting collection. I'm so glad that we got to showcase it to all of you today. Let me just make sure there's not any other questions. So I think we've handled them all.
Great.
So I think that wraps it up. Thank you all for joining us today. We are so excited to be here.
Yes, thank you all so much.
Have a wonderful day.